Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Manuel Bolivar Zabala, and today I'm going to talk a little bit about some interesting facts about the video that we have already watched. In this case, I want to focus on the four maxims about the cooperative principle. First of all, when we are communicating or when we are talking about communication, we are not just referring about saying words. We are not just referring about the quantity or how much information we can express, our thoughts, opinions, inferences. We are referring also, and must be taking into account this, about how do we say the information, our thoughts, our the words, in fact, and also why we say them in that manner or in that way. But it's not just that. It's also depend on, or it's going to depend, and it's going to be centered on also about how do listeners understand us. It means that they don't just are trying to understand the message, in fact, but also how do we are communicating with them, how we are transmitting. That's the reason why it's important to understand about the cooperative principle, that in this case is made by four principles, four maxims that are called, that they help us to understand, or in other way or another, to I don't know, to, sorry, the word is to cooperate with each other to make the message or the communication or the conversation, in this case, work, functional, but also useful for um, our daily days. In this case, as I told you, this is made by four maxims. The first maxim is about quality. In the other words, to be truthful. It means that the information we are saying must be something that it's real, something that is true, or in other ways, something that we are believing that is true. Why? Because something that is going to be remarkable in our conversations, in our speech, is the veracity of the words. No, so that is important to be truthful in the first place. The second maximum is about quantity. In other words, to be informed, be informative. Our conversation should be informative. Here is because some cases, um, there is an amount of information that we can learn, that we can memorize, that we can transmit. But we must be careful with this, because some cases we can express too much information, but also we can in other ways express less information. So that's the reason why the information we are expressing hasn't to be too little, but also neither too much. Why? Because when we are trying to express something, where we are trying to communicate something, we must be um the more we must be uh, like um, we must be understandable. The message should be understandable, but also we must be known or be aware of how to transmit this information without abruming the people or without saying too much, so the message could be lost. The main idea of what we are trying to transmit could be lost. The third principle is about to be about relations. In other words, to be relevant. That is connected by the other one, that is about to be informative. The information we are transmitting should be relevant to the topic, should be a specific information that help us to understand the communication, the conversation we are inferring. In other words, should be connected to the topic, because in some cases there are a lot of information we can say, there are a lot of information we can read, and something to share. But the thing is that when we are trying to communicate something, we should take into account that the main topic is going to be the idea we are transmitting, because as I told you, there is a lot of information, but the thing is that in some cases all the information we found, um, they didn't sorry, it doesn't mean that has the answers, or has the main questions about the topic. I don't know if I get understood about this. The second one, and the last maxim is about manner. To be clear, it's not just about how we synthesize information or how do we express it, but also it should be about how the information we are expressing, we are saying, is controlled, is organized, to don't confuse the language in other ways, to don't be misunderstood, but also to be clear about information. Because when we are in a conversation, we are talking in a fluently way, in a confident way, because it's supposed that what we are saying, what we are expressing, what we are talking or speaking, it should be it should be relevant but also truthful. And that's the reason why we should be clear about what we are saying, because if we are not clear, we are going to make misunderstandings, or we are going to confuse the other people, because they at the end they uh, they wouldn't know what we are saying or why we are saying that, and they're going to lose the focus. So that's the reason why the cooperative principle is important, because it helps us to make a conversation, to do or make a conversation more clearly, but also more useful for our daily days. And that's all. Thank you.